The clock on the wall showed 2:47 a.m. when the air in the old physics lab suddenly crackled with electricity. Blue sparks danced across the empty tables, and then, in a flash of brilliant light, she appeared. Princess Zara collapsed onto the cold floor, her chest rising and falling rapidly. Her skin had a strange blue glow that was getting weaker by the minute. She wore what looked like armor, but it was unlike anything you'd see in movies. It was sleek, almost liquid-looking, with patterns that seemed to shift and move. It was damaged, with dark burn marks across the chest and arms. Blood that shimmered like starlight dripped from a cut on her forehead. Her eyes, large and violet, stared at the ceiling as she struggled to breathe. In her hand, she clutched a small device that beeped frantically, showing symbols that twisted and changed like living things. "Final protocol must be activated," she whispered in a voice that sounded like wind chimes. "No other choice remains." 3 floors below, Jake Morrison sat hunched over his computer in the astronomy department. The 24-year-old graduate student had been tracking unusual energy readings. For the past week, tonight, the readings were off the charts. Jake rubbed his tired eyes and took another sip of cold coffee. He'd been at the university since 6 p.m., working on his research project about deep space signals. Most people thought he was crazy for spending so much time looking for patterns in cosmic noise, but Jake loved the mystery of it all. His computer screen suddenly lit up with warnings. Energy levels that shouldn't exist on Earth were coming from somewhere inside the building. Jake's heart raced as he grabbed his equipment detector and headed for the stairs. "This is impossible," he muttered, watching the readings spike higher with each step. "These numbers don't make sense." The detector led him to the 3rd floor, to the old physics lab that nobody used anymore. The door was unlocked, which was strange. Jake pushed it open slowly and his jaw dropped. A young woman lay on the floor, but she wasn't quite human. Her skin glowed faintly blue, and her hair looked like it was made of silver threads. She wore armor that seemed to be alive, pulsing. With dying light, Jake's first instinct was to run, but then he saw the pain in her eyes. She was looking right at him, and despite everything strange about her, he could see she was afraid. "Please," she said, though her lips barely moved. "Help me." Jake knelt beside her, his hands shaking. "What are you? What happened to you?" "I'm Princess Zara of the Andorian Empire," she said, each word taking great effort. "My people are dying. I came to find help, but my ship crashed. The collective is coming." Jake didn't understand most of what she said, but he understood pain. His little sister had been sick for months before she passed away last year, and he recognized that look of someone fighting to stay alive. Okay, Jake said, trying to stay calm. "What do you need? How can I help?" Zara lifted her device with trembling hands. "Power. My life support is failing. Without it, I will die, and my people will have no hope." Jake looked at the device. Then, at the electrical outlets around the room. He'd always been good with electronics, fixing things since he was a kid. "Can this thing use our electricity?" "I don't know," Zara whispered. "Our technologies are different." "Let me try," Jake said, already looking around for cables and adapters. "My dad always said there's no problem that can't be solved with the right tools and enough determination." Grabbed extension cords from the supply closet and began working on connecting her device to the wall power. His hands moved quickly, twisting wires and making connections. Zara watched him with growing hope. "You're not afraid of me?" she said. Surprised, Jake looked up from his work. "Should I be? You're hurt and asking for help? That's all I need to know." "Most beings run when they see something different," Zara said softly. "Yeah, well, I've always been weird too," Jake replied with a small smile. "Never really fit in anywhere. Maybe that's why I spend so much time looking at the stars." The device suddenly hummed to life, and Zara's armor began to glow brighter. Color returned to her face, and her breathing became easier. "It's working," she said, amazement in her voice. "You've saved my life." Jake sat back on his heels, exhausted but proud. "Good. Now, what's this about your people dying and something called the Collective?" Zara struggled to sit up, her strength returning slowly. "The Collective is a race of machines that destroys all organic life. They've already consumed 17 worlds in my sector. Earth is directly in their path." "Earth? You mean they're coming here?" "Yes. I was sent to make contact with your leaders." to form an alliance. But my ship was damaged in the escape, and I crashed 3 days ago. I've been hiding in your forests, but the collective scouts have found me. Jake felt his stomach drop. How long do we have? It's less than 2 days. If I cannot complete my mission, I must surrender myself to them. It's the law of my people, perhaps. If I give myself up, they will spare some of my remaining colonies. That's crazy, Jake said firmly. There has to be another way. I've been trying to find one for 3 days, Zara said, sadness filling her voice. But I'm alone on an alien world with broken equipment and no way to contact my fleet. Surrender may be the only option left. Out. Jake stood up and paced around the room. No, I don't accept that. You came here for help, right? So let me help you. Let us help you, less humans. Look, I don't know much about space politics or fighting machine armies. But I know one thing. We don't give up. Ever. My species has survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and disasters that should have wiped us out. We're stubborn like that for the first time since arriving on Earth. Zara smiled. You would help me, even though you just met me? Even though I'm not human? You asked for help, Jake said simply. That's enough for me. Outside the window, the first hints of dawn were appearing on the horizon. Somewhere in the darkness of space, enemy ships were getting closer. But in that small lab, 2 beings from different worlds had found something powerful. Hope. Zara looked. At the young human who had saved her life without asking for anything in return? Maybe, just maybe, this wasn't the end of her story after all. Where do we start? She asked. Jake grinned and pulled up a chair. Tell me everything. Let's figure out how to save both our worlds. The sun was starting to rise outside the lab window when Zara's device began making new sounds. Soft chimes filled the air, and suddenly Jake could understand every word she was saying clearly. Your electrical system worked better than I hoped, Zara said, her voice now crystal clear. My universal translator is back online. Jake stared at her in amazement. You mean you have a machine that can translate any language? Not just language, Zara explained, touching a small crystal on her chest piece. It reads brain patterns, emotional states, even cultural context. It's how different species in our galaxy communicate. That's incredible, Jake said, sitting down across from her.
But...
Tell me more about this collective.
What?
What exactly are we dealing with? Zara's expression grew serious. Imagine machines that think like a hive mind. They don't see individual. Life is valuable. To them, organic beings are just resources to be consumed or obstacles to be removed. She waved her hand, and her device projected a hologram into the air. Jake gasped as he watched images of beautiful worlds with crystal cities and floating gardens, all being consumed by dark mechanical structures. This was my homeworld of Andoria, Zara said softly. We had gardens that sang in the wind and libraries that held the knowledge of 1,000 years. The collective turned it all into metal and circuits in less than a week. Jake watched the hologram showing millions of beings fleeing their dying planet. How many of your people escaped? Only about 2 million out of 50 million, Zara replied, her voice heavy with grief. They're scattered across 17 different refugee fleets, hiding in the outer reaches of our galaxy. And you're a princess of all these people? I was, Zara said with a sad smile. Now I'm more like a guardian of refugees. My father, the king, sent me on this mission because he believed Earth's people might be different from other species. We've encountered. Jake leaned forward. Different how? Most advanced civilizations we've met are peaceful but ... soft. They've forgotten how to fight for survival, but humans ... She paused, studying Jake's face. Your people have something. We lost long ago. You still remember how to struggle, how to adapt, how to find hope when everything seems lost. Is that why you think we can help? I hoped so, Zara said. But when my ship crashed, I thought the mission was over. According to our laws, if I can't establish formal contact with your leaders within the time limit, I must activate the surrender. Protocol, Jake frowned. What's that? Zara touched her device, and it displayed a countdown timer showing 46 hours and 23 minutes. It's a quantum beacon that will signal my location to the collective. When I activate it, they'll come for me. And I'll offer myself in exchange for more time for my people. That's crazy, Jake said firmly. You're talking about sacrificing yourself. It's the way of my people, Zara replied. A leader's duty is to protect those they serve, even if it costs them everything. But what happens after you surrender? Do they really leave your people alone? Zara's silence was answer enough. Jake stood up and started pacing. So let me get this straight. You came here to get help from our governments, but your ship crashed. Now you have less than 2 days to either complete your mission or basically commit suicide. That's a very direct way to put it, but yes. Well, forget that, Jake said with determination. We're going to find another way. Jake, you don't understand. I don't even know how to contact your leaders. Your world has hundreds of different governments, and I don't know which ones would even believe me. Then we'll make them believe, Jake said, pulling out his phone. Look, I might just be a graduate student, but I have connections. My professor, Dr. Kim, works with government scientists. My friend Danny's dad is in the military. We can start there. Zara watched him with growing amazement. You're serious? You actually want to help me contact your entire planet's leadership? Not, you said humans are good at adapting, right? Well, this is what we do. We see a problem, and we figure out how to solve it. But the risk, Zara protested. If the collective realizes what we're doing, they might attack immediately. And if we do nothing, they'll attack anyway, Jake replied. At least this way, we're fighting back. Jake's phone buzzed, glanced at it and saw a text from his research partner about unusual satellite readings. Actually, I think we might have more help than you realize. What do you mean? These energy readings I've been tracking, they're not just random. People all over the world have been detecting strange signals. Scientists, amateur radio operators, even some military installations. They might not know what they're seeing. But they know something's happening. Zara's eyes widened. You mean your people are already aware of extraterrestrial activity? Some of them, yeah. We just need to connect the dots for them. Jake sat back down and looked directly at Zara. Tell me about your technology. What can it do? What do you need to make it work? Why? Because if we're going to convince people to help us, we need to show them what we're dealing with. And more importantly, we need to show them what we can accomplish together. Zara was quiet for a long moment. My people have spent centuries perfecting defensive technology. We can create shields that bend light, make entire ships invisible, even hide whole planets from detection. You can make things invisible? Not I. Just invisible, completely undetectable. But it requires enormous amounts of energy and precise calculations. That's why we need allies. Jake's mind was racing. What if we could combine your technology with our resources? You have the knowledge, we have the power and the manpower. It's never been done before, Zara said slowly. Cross-species technological. Integration is incredibly complex. But possible? Theoretically, yes. But Jake, even if we could make it work, we'd need cooperation from multiple governments, access to power grids, satellite networks, communication systems, ... Then that's what we'll get, Jake said with confidence. Look, I know it sounds impossible, but humans have done impossible things before. We've gone from flying kites to landing on the moon in less than a century. Zara stared at him, and for the first time since her arrival, she felt something she hadn't experienced in months. Genuine hope. You really believe we can do this? I believe we have to try, Jake said. Besides, you said it yourself. Humans are stubborn. We don't give up easily. Outside, the world was waking up to what would be the most important day in human history. Neither Jake nor Zara knew exactly how they would convince Earth's leaders to unite against a threat they'd never imagined. But they knew one thing for certain. They weren't going to face it alone, so Jake said, pulling out his laptop. Let's start making some calls. Time to introduce Earth to its first alien princess. Zara smiled. Her first real smile since arriving on Earth. I think I'm beginning to understand why my father believed in your species. The countdown timer continued ticking, but now they had something more powerful than time. They had a plan, and they had each other. The timer on Zara's device now showed 31 hours and 47 minutes. Jake had been awake for over 20 hours straight, but adrenaline kept him going. His laptop screen displayed dozens of open tabs. government websites, scientific databases, contact information for researchers around the world. This is harder than I thought, Jake admitted, rubbing his tired eyes. Every official I've called thinks I'm either crazy or playing some kind of prank. Zara looked up from the alien device she'd been working on. What did the military contact say? Colonel Williams? He hung up on me after I said the word alien. Apparently, they get a lot of calls from people claiming to have met extraterrestrials. I'm sorry, Zara said softly. I know you're trying to help, but maybe surrender really is the only option. Wei, Jake said firmly. I've been thinking about this all night. We don't need to convince everyone at once. We just need to prove that you're real to one person who can help us reach the others. It was a text from his research partner, Alex, who worked in the university's satellite communication lab. Jake, those energy readings you asked me about, they're getting stronger. And there's something else, we're picking up structured patterns. In the signals, it's like someone's broadcasting from outside our solar system. Jake showed the message to Zara. Her face went pale. That's the collective, she whispered. They're scanning your system, looking for me. How long before they find you with their current scanning pattern? Maybe 12 hours. Jake felt his heart racing. Then we need to move faster. What if we could prove to someone that your technology is real? Show them something they can't ignore. Like what? Jake stared at the hologram projector on Zara's device. An idea was forming in his mind. Your invisibility technology, can you make it work on a small scale with our power supply? Possibly, but why? Because if we can demonstrate that we can make things invisible, people will have to take us seriously. And if we can show them what's coming... Jake paused, his mind working through the possibilities. Zara, what if we could hide more than just objects? What if we could hide people? Zara sat up straighter. You mean create a localized cloaking field? Exactly. If we can prove the technology works, then maybe we can convince them to help us scale it up. Jake, even if we could create a small cloaking field, hiding an entire planet would require massive amounts of energy. Your power grids, satellite networks, communication systems, everything would need to work together perfectly. Then let's start small and work our way up, Jake said, his excitement growing. You said your people are masters of defensive technology. What if we combined that with human engineering? We're pretty good at taking small ideas and making them huge. Zara considered this. It would be unprecedented. No one has ever attempted cross-species technological integration on this scale. But it's possible? Theoretically, yes. But the calculations alone would take weeks, and we'd need cooperation from multiple governments. Access to power stations, satellite controls, ... double quotes, one step at a time, Jake said. First, let's prove it works. For the next several hours, Jake and Zara worked side by side. Combining his knowledge of Earth's electrical systems with her understanding of quantum field manipulation, Jake had never been more focused in his life. Every wire he connected, every equation he solved, felt like the most important thing he'd ever done. Try it now, Zara said, adjusting the settings on her device. Jake placed a coffee mug in the center of the lab table and stepped back. Zara activated the field generator, and the mug simply... disappeared. Holy cow, Jake breathed. It actually worked. The field is only stable for about 30 seconds with your power supply, Zara explained. But it's proof of concept. Just then, Jake's phone rang. It was Dr. Kim, his professor. Jake, where are you? I've been trying to reach you all day. Energy readings you've been tracking, they're showing up on instruments all over the world. Something big is happening. Jake looked at Zara, who nodded. Professor, I need you to come to the old physics lab on the 3rd floor and bring anyone. You can think of who might be able to help us save the world. Save the world. Jake, what are you talking about? Just trust me. And Professor, bring your camera. You're going to want to document this. An hour later, Dr. Kim arrived with 2 other faculty members and a contact from the National Science Foundation. Jake's hands were shaking as he prepared. To demonstrate the cloaking technology, this is either going to work perfectly or we're going to look completely insane, he whispered to Zara. Welcome to my world, she replied with a nervous smile. The demonstration was flawless. When the coffee mug vanished before their eyes, the room fell completely silent. Then everyone started talking at once. "This is impossible," Dr. Kim said, reaching toward the space where the mug had been. "The energy readings make sense now," added Dr. Chen from the physics department. "We're seeing technology that's decades ahead of anything we have."
Hours.
Within hours, word had spread through carefully selected channels. Government scientists, military advisors, and research directors from around the world began making secure calls. The evidence was undeniable. Earth had made contact with an alien civilization, and that civilization needed help. But as more people learned about the situation, the pressure mounted. The collective's scanning signals were getting stronger, and Zara's countdown timer showed less than 18 hours remaining. "We've got their attention," Jake said, looking at the growing list of officials who wanted to video conference with them. "But do we have enough time to coordinate a global response?" "I don't know," Zara admitted. "But Jake, what you've done today... ... No one has ever believed in my people the way you have. Whatever happens, you've given us hope." "Hey, we're not done yet," Jake said determinedly. "We've proven the technology works. Now we need to prove that humans and Andorians can work together to save both our worlds." Outside the lab window, the sun was setting on what might be Earth's last normal day. But inside that small room, two beings from different worlds had created something that had never existed before, a bridge between species, built on trust, friendship, and the shared determination to never give up. The real test was just beginning. The timer showed 14 hours and 32 minutes when everything changed. Jake stood in the middle of what had once been a quiet physics lab, now buzzing with activity. Scientists from 3 different countries were video calling in on laptops. Military advisors were studying Zara's holographic displays, and engineers were frantically taking notes about alien technology. "The power requirements are enormous," said Dr. Patel, an energy specialist from India who'd flown in just 4 hours ago. "To create a planetary-scale cloaking field, we'd need to coordinate every major power grid on Earth. Can it be done?" asked General Rodriguez, speaking through a secure video link from the Pentagon. "Theoretically, yes," Zara replied, her voice steady, despite the pressure. "But the timing must be perfect. One power station going offline at the wrong moment could collapse the entire field." Jake looked around the room at all these important people who had dropped everything to help. Just yesterday, he'd been a graduate student worried about finishing his research project. Now he was helping coordinate humanity's first joint defense with an alien civilization. "What about the satellites?" asked Dr. Thompson from the European Space Agency. "Can we integrate them into the system?" "That's the beautiful part," Jake said, pulling up his calculations on the main screen. "Earth's satellite network is already designed to work together. We just need to modify the signals to carry Zara's quantum field data." For the past 6 hours, Jake had been working with a team of the world's brightest minds to solve an impossible puzzle. They'd divided into groups, power systems, satellite networks, communication protocols, and field calculations. Each group was tackling a different piece of the planetary defense system. "We have a problem," announced Dr. Kim, who'd been monitoring the collective scanning signals. "Their search pattern is getting more focused. They're narrowing down Earth's location." Zara's face went pale. "How long do we have? Maybe 6 hours before they pinpoint our exact position?" The room fell silent. 6 hours to complete a project that should have taken months. "We need to test it," Jake said suddenly. "We can't wait for the perfect moment. We need to know if this thing actually works on a large scale." "Test it how?" asked General Rodriguez. Jake looked at Zara, and she understood immediately. "We cloak a city," she said, "just for a few minutes. If it works, we'll know the system is ready. And if it doesn't work," Dr. Patel asked. "Then we keep trying until it does," Jake replied firmly, "because giving up isn't an option." The next 3 hours were the most intense of Jake's life. Every major power company on Earth was put on standby. Satellite control centers from 12 different countries coordinated their systems. Communication. Networks that had never been designed to work together were suddenly sharing data at the speed of light. "New York is ready," reported the North American team. "European power grid is synchronized. came the call from London. Asian satellites are in position, confirmed the team in Tokyo. Jake's hands were shaking as he prepared to send the activation signal. Zara, are you sure about this? No, she said honestly. But I'm sure about you. About all of you. My people spent centuries perfecting this technology alone. You've improved it in ours by working together. Okay, everyone, Jake announced. To the room and the dozens of people connected by video link, we're going to attempt to cloak the city of Denver for exactly 60 seconds. If this works, we'll know we can protect the whole planet. He looked at Zara one more time. She nodded and placed her hand on the activation control. 3, 2, 1. Now, the effect was immediate and breathtaking. On satellite feeds around the world, the city of Denver simply vanished. Not destroyed, not damaged, just gone, as if it had never existed. Energy levels are stable, reported Dr. Chen. Satellite networks are holding, confirmed the space agency. Power grids are synchronized perfectly, added the energy team. For 60 seconds. 1 million people became invisible to the universe. And then, as smoothly as it had disappeared, Denver reappeared. The room erupted in cheers. On video screens around the world, scientists and officials were celebrating. They'd just witnessed the impossible become reality. It worked, Zara whispered, tears streaming down her face. It actually worked. Jake felt like he might collapse from relief and exhaustion. We did it. We actually did it. But their celebration was interrupted by an urgent beep from Zara's device. New signals were appearing on the scanner. What is that? Dr. Kim asked. Zara's eyes widened as she read the data. It's a message from the Andorian fleet. They've been monitoring our test, and they're requesting permission to approach Earth. Your people are coming here, Jake asked. Not all of them, Zara explained. But the main refugee fleet, about 200 ships, carrying 500,000 survivors. They want to join us. General Rodriguez leaned forward on the video screen. Are they bringing weapons? Military support? Better than that, Zara said with a smile. They're bringing knowledge. Scientists, engineers, doctors, teachers. If we're going to work together to defend against the collective, we need to truly understand each other. Jake looked around the room at all the people who had come together to help. So we're not just hiding from the collective anymore. We're building something new. An alliance, Zara said. The first real partnership between humans and Andorians. The timer on Zara's device showed 8 hours and 15 minutes remaining. But for the first time since she'd arrived on Earth, Zara wasn't watching it with dread. She was watching it with anticipation. There's something else, she said quietly. I've been thinking about the surrender protocol. What if we used it differently? What do you mean? Jake asked. What if instead of signaling my surrender, we used it to send a message to the collective? Show them that Earth and Andoria are united, that we're not just prey to be hunted. Patel nodded slowly, a demonstration of strength instead of weakness. Exactly, but it would be incredibly dangerous. If the cloaking field fails even for a moment, then we make sure it doesn't fail, Jake said with determination. Ow! We've come this far together? We're not stopping now. As the sun set outside the lab window, Jake realized this was no longer about just saving 2 worlds. It was about proving that different species could work together. That cooperation was stronger than conquest, and that hope could overcome any threat. The hardest part was still ahead, but they were ready for it. The timer showed 47 minutes when the collective fleet finally arrived. Jake stood beside Zara in the physics lab that had become the command center for the most important operation in human history. Around them, screens displayed real-time data from every continent. Power grids hummed at perfect synchronization. Satellites orbited in precise formation. The entire planet was ready. Visual contact confirmed, reported Dr. Kim from the tracking. Station 15 ships, massive size, approaching from the outer solar system. On the main screen, Jake could see them dark, geometric shapes that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They moved with mechanical precision, scanning everything in their path. They're beautiful in a terrifying way, Jake whispered. They're efficient. Zara replied grimly. That's what makes them so dangerous. It's no emotion, no mercy, just pure logic, focused on one goal: consuming everything organic. The collective ships had detected the energy signatures from their previous tests and were now searching methodically through the solar system. According to their calculations, they would reach Earth's vicinity in exactly 37 minutes.
Alice.
Report from all sectors, Jake announced into his headset. North America ready, came the reply from Washington. Europe synchronized, reported London. Asia standing by, confirmed Tokyo. South America online, added the team from Brazil. Africa ready for activation, reported Cape Town. Australia and Pacific Islands coordinated, finished the team from Sydney. For the first time in human history, every nation on Earth was working together toward a single goal. Political differences, territorial disputes, economic competitions, all of it had been set aside in the face of a threat that made their earthly conflicts seem meaningless. The Andorian fleet is in position, Zara announced, checking her communication device. 200 ships hidden behind your moon, ready to join us the moment we activate the planetary cloak. Jake looked at her with amazement. I still can't believe this is real. 3 days ago, I was just a grad student worried about finishing my research project. And I was a princess ready to surrender everything to save what remained of my people, Zara replied. Now look at us. Through the lab window, Jake could see students walking across the campus, completely unaware that their world was about to change forever. In a few minutes, they would either be part of the greatest victory in human history or witnesses to Earth's final hour. 15 minutes to contact, Dr. Kim announced. Collective ships are entering the inner solar system. Jake's heart was pounding. Are we sure this is going to work? Nothing is certain, Zara said softly. But I've learned something from your species that mine forgot long ago. Sometimes the greatest victories come not from perfect plans, but from the courage to try when failure seems certain. 10 minutes to contact. Jake activated the global communication system. This is Jake Morrison speaking to everyone involved in Operation Unity. In 10 minutes, we're going to attempt something that has never been done before. We're going to hide an entire planet and welcome our first alien allies at the same time. Paused, looking around the room at all the people who had worked tirelessly to make this moment possible. I know you're all scared. I'm scared too. But I want you to remember something. 3 days ago, Princess Zara was alone, injured, and ready to give up. Today, she's standing with 6 billion humans who refuse to let her fight alone. That's what we do. That's who we are. 5 minutes to contact. Zara stepped forward and activated her own communication system, broadcasting to both the human teams and the Andorian fleet. To my fellow Andorians hiding behind Earth's moon, today we stop running. To the humans who opened their world to a stranger in need, today we stand together. The collective believes that organic life is weak because we feel emotion, because we form bonds, because we help each other. Today we prove that those things make us stronger. 2 minutes to contact. Jake and Zara stood side by side, their hands hovering over the activation controls. Around them, the most advanced technology from 2 different worlds waited for their command. 1 minute to contact. The collective ships were now close enough that their scanning beams were sweeping across Earth's surface. In seconds, they would detect the planet's location and begin their approach. 30 seconds. Jake looked at Zara one last time. Ready? With you? Always. 10 seconds. 5, 3, 2, 1. Now, Jake and Zara pressed their controls simultaneously. Around the world, power stations released their energy in perfect harmony. Satellites adjusted their positions to create a global network. The most complex technological achievement in human history activated in the blink of an eye. Earth vanished from space. The third planet from the sun simply ceased to exist. The collective ships, expecting to find a blue-green world teeming with life, found only empty space at the same moment. 200 Andorian ships decloaked behind the moon and took up defensive positions around Earth's invisible form. It's working, Dr. Kim reported, his voice filled with wonder. The collective ships are scanning the area, but they can't find us. For 3 hours, the collective fleet searched. Their mechanical minds couldn't process what had happened. Logic told them Earth should be there, but their sensors found nothing. Finally, confused and unable to locate their target, the collective ships turned away and headed toward another star system. "They're leaving," Zara announced, tears streaming. Down her face, "They're actually leaving?" The lab erupted in celebration. Round the world, people were cheering, crying, hugging strangers. They'd done the impossible. "We can decloak safely now," Jake said, his voice shaking with relief and exhaustion as Earth reappeared. The Andorian fleet moved into orbit, their ships gleaming like jewels against the starfield. For the first time in galactic history, too, species had successfully united against a common threat. "What happens now?" Jake asked. "Now we build something new," Zara replied. A partnership between worlds. We share knowledge, explore space together, and make sure the collective never threatens anyone again." 6 months later, Jake stood in the same physics lab where he'd first met Zara. But now it was part of the Earth Andorian Research Center, where scientists from both species worked together on projects that would have been impossible for either world alone. "You know what the best part is?" Jake said to Zara as they watched human and Andorian students learning side by side. "That we didn't just save 2 worlds. We proved that when people choose to help each other instead of fighting, there's no limit to what we can accomplish." Zara smiled, her blue skin glowing softly in the afternoon sun. "My father always said that the greatest strength isn't in weapons or technology. It's in the bonds we form with others." "Smart man. He would have liked you, Jake. You have the heart of a true leader." Jake looked out the window at the mixed fleet of human and Andorian ships patrolling the solar system, protecting both their worlds from any future threats. "I'm not a leader," he said. "I'm just someone who couldn't stand by and watch a friend give up." Sometimes Zara replied, "That's exactly what a leader is." The universe was vast and full of dangers, but Earth and Andoria would face them together. And it all started with a graduate student who chose to help a stranger in need, proving that the smallest acts of kindness can change the fate of worlds.